is Chloe Navarez. I am one of the owners at Happy Hens, Truly Outdoors Eggs. We raise corn and soy-free outdoor chicken eggs. So we started it back in 2012. Initially, it was just my husband, Louie, and he had grown up in conventional farming and decided he was going to do this whole new thing, which was really exciting. So that's how we met. Is I'm very interested in how food is produced and just a really conscious eater myself. In 2013, I came on and started working with him and doing a lot of marketing, sales. I did literally everything from top to bottom. I was out there collecting eggs, cleaning up poop, doing all kinds of things. And then was out in stores promoting the product, just really sharing about the quality of the product that was being produced. And I know many people like myself looking for a product like this were didn't know about it. So I was out there doing that for a while. In the process of all that, then we ended up getting married. Just before we got married though, I all of a sudden out of nowhere started having really major health issues, which was shocking for me because I was really a conscious eater and followed a lot of like the Weston A. Price type style ancestral eating, and just was shocked to then all of a sudden have all these major issues come up. So with that, we started trying to figure out what was causing the problems with my body. I had like just straight blood in my stool and ended up, obviously it's a little alarming, and I was probably 20, maybe 21, 22 at the time. And like I said, was extremely healthy, didn't make any sense to me. So I ended up going to a doctor, which is outside of my scope. Normally I would just care for myself naturally however I needed to. None of my things were working, so I ended up going to a actual physician, and they told me initially, they're like, you have cancer. So I was like really shook up from that quick encounter, and then they told me, we're going to send you into the hospital, we're going to have you do all these additional testing, colonoscopy, all these things. And as like a 20 some odd year old kid, I'm thinking like, this is just like, there's no way this is like normal or real. Like it just doesn't even make any sense. So I go in, I do the whole shebang, testing, whatever things they're gonna do. And at the end of it, they're like, okay, like, first of all, I went in and I gave them a stool sample, and this was like the most alarming thing to me. I go in, I get a stool sample, which is purely blood, and they get the results back and they're just like, yeah, your stool sample was totally normal. I'm like, did you guys look at it? Like, there was like, I don't think that's what stool should look like, but first red flag, they definitely don't know what stool should look like. So then I ended up, they got me the results back from the colonoscopy that they had done, and they were like, okay, what you have is ulcerative colitis, which is basically just ulcers in your intestine. After they diagnosed me with this ulcerative colitis, they were going to put me on prednisone and immune suppressants, like similar drugs that they would give to cancer patients. And they were like, you know what, you're never going to get better than you are right now, but you also won't get worse. And like, for reference, at this time I had like zero control of my bowels, so I would be like straight up wouldn't even want to go anywhere. Like, in the process of all of these terrible things that are happening, I'm like, I think at the time, with how bad it was, I wasn't even interested in it staying at its current place. Like, it was not a viable option for me to live like that for the rest of my life. So yeah, I rejected the drug prescriptions that they had offered, and then ended up going home, talked to my husband about all the results, or not my husband, he's my fiance at the time, and was just like, yeah, we had recently gotten engaged, and my whole conversation was just like, hey, this is what the results are. It's okay if you don't want to marry me. Like, they also mentioned I wouldn't be able to have kids. I wouldn't be able to like sustain pregnancy because my body just wasn't able to hold any nutrients. So they're like, there's no way you'd ever be able to have children, all these things. So I went back and I'm just like, here's all this stuff, like, I won't be able to have kids. These are all the possibilities. And my husband was like, I don't care. Like, we're still gonna get married. And yeah, we ended up, he's just like, we're gonna figure it out and we'll get through it. So we did. And from there we started just looking at all these different options, like naturopathic care. We went through, I saw chiropractors, I saw naturopathic doctors, I saw acupuncturists, I, did a whole elimination diet, this, that, parasite cleanses, heavy metal detoxing, like everything you can imagine under the sun. and was just truly, I think, like, really the thing I think that I held on to was, like, if my body was designed to heal, that, like, there's something I'm putting in my body that's creating this issue. So I was going through this book and reading about how your gut, if there's dysbiosis in your gut, then there's, like, you basically need to address that in order to heal, because that's clearly where all my issues were at. So I ended up trying to figure out, like, I cut out pretty much everything out of my diet, and then for like months it was just like very minimal. It was like I was doing bone broth or like just meat stocks, and then I would do avocado, I could do ground turkey, and coconut oil. Those were like the only things that my body was able to like consume without then creating a whole slew of inflammation. And then I feel like I kept having these things where it was like, as I was in the process of trying to like figure out what I could even eat and not, it would be like I would take one step forward and then 10 steps back, because I would end up consuming something that my body wasn't able to handle. And then I felt like all the work I had done to try to heal just reverted and just, ended up going back to just full inflammation. So after I figured those things out, I stuck with that for a while. But anybody who's been sick and knows, like, the limitations to just such a scaled diet is so inconvenient, for one. Not even just that, but it's so challenging, because it's like you just get so sick of just the same things all the time and just feeling like, I'm healthy, like, what is wrong with me? I'm like 20 something years old. I should be able to eat whatever I want. Like, and I say that, like, if you know me, I'm not eating like garbage, eating out or stuff like that. But I felt like one of the hardest things for me was, like, I can't drink raw milk. It just did not make any sense to me, literally at all, because I'm like, this is such a nutrient dense food. It's so good for me. I know exactly where it's coming from. Like, all the things, it's organic, it's this, it's that. So I just had such a hard time, like, understanding how this even worked. So anyhow, got through that process of, just getting to a place where I was basically leveled. And then with that, I was also, again, really shocked about eggs, because eggs are like one of the most inflammation in your body. So with that whole process, I'm like, okay, well, if the corn and the soy are in our eggs, are in our feed for our chickens, then maybe there's something with that. So in the same process of me, like, working on my own health and my own nutrition, and being really very careful about all the different things that I was doing, I was working with a poultry nutritionist to create a feed for our chickens. So we started out with like a small flock of about 200 chickens. And we were like, okay, we're going to do like this. My husband built this little tiny barn for us, and we were going to try out all these different formulas to see basically what we could produce that I would be able to eat. And after like I would say like it was probably like a year and a half to 2 years, we figured out like a variety of ingredients that ended up working to like meet all of the chickens' nutritional needs and help them to continue to thrive, as well as not create a adverse effect in my own body as I consumed them. So in the process, we had like all these additional people who also had like major autoimmune diseases, cancer, like all these things, who were in this boat of like they haven't been able to eat eggs for 30 years, 20 years, you know. Somebody was like 14 years. Yeah, just like all this crazy sickness and disease. And they would be like, hey, you know, we'd love to try them. And we're like, hey, it's just a trial. Like, we don't know for sure. Like, we can't claim anything on it. But like, if you want to try them, like, I can tell you what they've done for me. And this is the incredible part, is like, I remember then being able to eat eggs again, and like, huge, it's such a huge difference in your body, like to be able to like get the nutrients you need in a bioavailable way, and then be able to like actually feel like rejuvenated, and like you can feel your body being restored. And yeah, I think that's truly what makes the difference. It's the people's stories. I feel like there's all this data, all this stuff that can be run, or these tests that can be done. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's really like what works, you know, what works best for each person. And everybody is so individual that, I mean, something that works for me may not work for you. But I know 100% after having gone through this whole thing that corn and soy are like major contributors to any kind of like dysfunction and disease in the body. If you have inflammation, they are going to contribute to more. So if there's something that we can do, and this is our whole hope here at Happy Hens, is to do things to the best of our ability. We want to make a product that is not just good for us and our family, but also for others. And it's not about cutting corners or doing things so that we are, you know, having this massive financial gain or anything like that at all. It's truly about what we can do to put something out into the world that is pure and unadulterated.